The snow was falling harder than it had all week, wrapping the small town of Maple Ridge in a thick white silence. The streets were nearly empty, the air sharp enough to sting bare skin, and the faint sound of wind whistled through the narrow alleyways between brick buildings. On the corner, under a flickering streetlight, a young mother stood clutching her daughter's small hand. Their coats were too thin for the weather, their breaths forming pale clouds in the air. It was a night when warmth felt like a luxury, and kindness a miracle. Before we go on, if you believe that kindness can still change lives, that second chances still matter, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Every small act of support helps us keep telling stories that remind the world what truly matters. Her name was Emily Carter, and for the first time in her life, she had no idea what tomorrow would bring. Just a few months earlier, she'd been working full-time as a nurse in a busy city hospital. She had a home, a husband, and a plan for the future. Then the accident happened, the one that took her husband, Daniel, and shattered everything that had held her world together. Daniel had been driving home after a late shift when a drunk driver swerved into his lane. The call came in the middle of the night. Emily remembered answering the phone, hearing the words "I'm sorry," and feeling the world tilt sideways. For weeks afterward, she barely existed. Her little girl, Lily, only 6 years old, didn't understand why Daddy wasn't coming back. Emily didn't have the strength to explain it properly, so she just held her and cried until there were no more tears left. Bills piled up, the house payments slipped. Grief turned into exhaustion, and exhaustion turned into despair. By winter, Emily had lost her job. She'd missed too many shifts, her mind too clouded by pain to focus on her patients. She and Lily had moved into a small apartment on the edge of town, scraping by on savings. That were running out fast. That cold December morning, Emily had taken Lily out for a walk, hoping the snow might distract her daughter from the empty cupboards at home. She told herself she was just getting fresh air, but really, she was trying to keep moving so she wouldn't have to think. Her fingers were numb, her cheeks red, and she felt every bit as fragile as the snowflakes landing on her sleeve. They stopped in front of a small coffee shop, a cheerful place with fogged-up windows and the smell of roasted beans drifting through the air. Emily stood there for a long moment, staring at the warmth inside, watching people laugh and sip steaming cups. She wanted, desperately, to go in. But her wallet held only $3, and that was supposed to stretch for 2 more days. "Mummy," Lily whispered, tugging her hand. "Can we go inside? It smells so good." Emily knelt down, brushing the snow from her daughter's pink coat. "Maybe another day, sweetheart," she said softly, forcing a smile she didn't feel. They were about to turn away when the window slid open. A man leaned out, a barista, grey at the temples, kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He held 2 cups in his gloved hands. "Excuse me," he called, his voice warm despite the cold. "You both look like you could use something hot." Emily hesitated, embarrassed. "Oh, that's kind of you, but we didn't order anything. It's on the house," he said simply, setting the cups on the counter. "A little something to warm your hands, I insist." Her throat tightened. She wanted to refuse, but the steam rising from the lids smelled of cinnamon and chocolate, and Lily's eyes lit up in a way Emily hadn't seen in months. "Thank you," she managed to whisper, taking the cups. The man smiled. "No thanks needed. Just stay warm out there." As they walked away, Lily sipped her cocoa and looked back at him through the swirling snow. Then she tugged on Emily's coat and whispered, "Mummy, can we thank him somehow?" Emily looked down at her daughter, at the innocence in her eyes, the way she believed every kindness deserved to be returned. And with a voice soft as the falling snow, she said, "He already knows." That small act of kindness should have ended there, but it didn't. The next week, Emily returned to that same coffee shop, not because she could afford a drink, but because something about that brief encounter had stayed with her. The man behind the window was there again, cheerful as ever. His name tag read Mark. When he saw her, he smiled like he'd been expecting her all along. "Morning," he greeted. "I was hoping you'd stop by again." "How's your little girl?" "She's better," Emily said, "thanks to that hot chocolate." "Well," he chuckled, "hot chocolate fixes more than we give it credit for." There was something about Mark, something patient and steady, like the warmth of a fire that didn't demand attention but quietly filled the room. Emily found herself coming back every few days just to say hello. Sometimes Mark slipped her a muffin by accident, claiming it was a mix-up. Other times he simply offered a kind word that stayed with her the rest of the day. What Emily didn't know was that Mark had seen loss too. Years earlier, he'd lost his wife to cancer and had raised his son alone. He knew the look of someone drowning quietly behind polite smiles, and he knew that sometimes what people needed most wasn't charity, it was connection. One evening, as the last customers left and snow began to fall again, Emily lingered by the counter, hesitant to go. She admitted softly that she was looking for work, anything to help her get back on her feet. Mark thought for a moment, then nodded. "I could use some help in the mornings," he said. "It's not much, but it's honest work." Emily blinked back tears. "You'd hire me?" "I'd be lucky too," he said simply. That job changed everything. It wasn't glamorous, just brewing coffee, wiping tables and serving customers, but it gave Emily purpose. Again. The warmth of the shop became her refuge. The sound of laughter, the smell of coffee, the rhythm of routine, all of it slowly stitched her heart back together. Lily would sit in the corner before school, coloring or reading while her mum worked. The customers adored her. Sometimes Mark would hand her a cookie and wink. Official taste tester, he'd call her. Through the weeks, Emily began to smile again, genuinely this time. Her cheeks regained color, her laughter returned, and she started to believe, just a little, that maybe life wasn't finished with her after all. But not everything was easy. Bills still loomed, nights were still cold. There were moments when grief returned like a shadow, reminding her of what she'd lost. Yet each time she felt herself falling apart, she remembered Mark's quiet kindness, and the look in Lily's eyes when she'd said, "He already knows." That winter melted into spring. Flowers began to bloom along the sidewalks, and with them, something inside Emily began to bloom too. She started taking night classes at the community college, training to return to nursing. Mark encouraged her every step of the way, watching with pride as she found her confidence again. One morning, as she poured his coffee before opening, she asked him why he'd been so kind to her, a stranger with nothing to offer in return. He smiled, stirring his cup. "When my wife got sick," he said quietly, "a nurse held her hand every night. She wasn't just doing her job, she was giving us both something to hold on to. After my wife passed, I promised myself I'd pay that kindness forward. Maybe that's why I opened this place, to make people feel seen again." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "You kept your promise," she whispered. That summer, Emily graduated her program and found a position at the local clinic. She still worked mornings at the cafe, partly out of gratitude, partly because it felt like home. Life didn't magically become perfect, but it became full again, of laughter, hope, and second chances. One snowy December morning, almost exactly a year after that first cup of cocoa, Emily and Lily returned to the cafe, bundled up just like before. Mark was at the window, holding 2 steaming cups. "For my favorite girls," he said with a grin. Lily giggled, taking hers eagerly. But this time, Emily reached into her bag and placed an envelope on the counter. Inside was a photograph of her and Lily standing in front of the clinic, both smiling beneath a new sign that read, "Carter Family Health." Beneath it, she'd written, "For the man who reminded us that hope tastes like kindness." Mark opened it slowly, his eyes glistening. For a long moment, no one spoke. The snow fell softly around them, the same way it had that first day. Then Lily tugged Emily's coat again and whispered, "Mummy, can we thank him somehow?" Emily looked at her, her voice trembling but sure. "He already knows, sweetheart. He already knows." If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, Every gesture helps us keep spreading stories of hope, love, and the quiet miracles that still exist in this world. Before you go, tell us in the comments what's one act of kindness you'll never forget. Sometimes the smallest gesture can change someone's entire life.